Sesh. In this video, we are going to talk about the Stored Communication Act. Now, there is a lot of information available online, and you can actually manually watch and read the act, and also use AI like ChatGPT to get an idea. But for now, if we talk about a glimpse of the act, it is basically a broader Electronic Communication Privacy Act. So that is ECPA. So in this video, we are going to take a look in detail of things that you need to consider. So the purpose is quite simple. There are two types of things. That is, for example, if you have a computer yourself, and in other case, if you are using remote computing service like Google Cloud, and if you commit some crime on Google Cloud. So this act covers a lot of protected data. It includes emails, text messages, direct messages on social media like Instagram, photos and videos stored in cloud. Let's say if there is a crime that is committed and the video is stored in iCloud or other drives. So this act covers all of those details, and it is basically a bifurcation between remote services and local data, and it provides a detail. Now there are few things that you need to understand inside the act. Now what requires a search warrant and what does not require a search warrant. So for electronic stored device which is from 180 days or less, it requires a search warrant, and by definition ECS, that is Electronic Communication Service like Gmail, WhatsApp, they have to maintain a data or backup just for evidence purpose. Now in the second category, there are things like Google Drive, Dropbox, or even iCloud services which are not real-time communication. In the first part, it was real-time communication. Let's say, for example, messages sent via WhatsApp. These things come into the ECS part, whereas the RCS is things like cloud storage. So in this kind of case, it is not authorized to access the content without the search warrant, and it requires a search warrant. So the act is basically to protect the privacy and enhance the searchability of evidence and give a detail about the same. So now let's try to understand how this act, that is the SCA Act, implies or applies to the digital forensic case study. There are four things. First is scope limitation. So it is a broader scope, and the second one is legal process requirement. So it allows the forensic examiners to collect and collaborate with legal counsel and get warrants, court orders to search and get data digitally. And then again, it provides a compliance, and it has laws, and you also have to maintain chain of custody so the evidence is admissible on court. You can get a detail about the same on websites like ChatGPT, and again read the law in detail if required in any cases. But a basic violation of SCA has three things. First is the unauthorized access. Let's say if the evidence is altered, or it is basically to prevent obtaining, altering, and preventing unauthorized access of electronic medias. And this is where the term hacking or hackers come into play. That is for unauthorized individual who access the data. The second is unauthorized disclosure of providers. So let's say if any of the cases ECS or RCS is knowingly storing data, so that is something that you can, it's a right to provide information, and then there are remedies. So there are certain challenges that are into the picture, and I'll just brief you guys about the same. First thing is the 180-day rule. So as per the order, the data should be stored for less than 180 days. So again, there is a brief detail on it. Let's say if your chats are stored more than 180 days, again it's a violation of your privacy, whereas they are outside 180 days, within 180 days, again if there is a case and if they want the chat, then again they won't have it. So it is quite important to set a rule between it. Then the second challenge is about cloud computing and third party issues. Like for example, if the personal data is being stored on third party providers, this is basically an extension of Fourth Amendment protection. So let's consider the example of previous video. We talked about Fourth Amendment, the protection of privacy. Now if the data is on your local server, you have that right, but again if it is on a cloud server, then the cloud company has the right and can give the consent. So again there is a gray area over here. And the most important part that I feel is technological phase. Like for example, nowadays we have technology like LoRa, which is radio communication devices. Now these kind of devices have some gray area to produce the evidence in court, since they are not logical evidences, but yes, they are evidence of messaging done on LoRa technology or IoT devices. It should be admissible in court, but how it should be produced and how to authenticate is a different thing. And then there are again international laws for data transfers, like the Cloud Act, that is in 2018, that provides protection and produce data stored outside US. So for example, if some data is stored in other country, because of the international laws, it should be permissible, and it conflicts with the foreign privacy laws. Now since most of my viewers are from India, we are going to take a look at some similar laws that are available in India. We have the IT Act 2000, and which has been updated. Then again we have the Indian Evidence Act. You can have a word and take a look at certain categories and sections like section 65A and 65B, which deals with the admissibility of electronic records. And then we have some Code of Criminal Produce, that is CRPC Act. This governs the criminal investigation, and it is similar to the search authority and the warrant thing that we are talking about, which is how it allows law enforcement to search for evidence, but at the same time requires warrants and legal orders from courts to access electronic data. And then there is the Right to Privacy Act from 2017. Now this act covers a lot of data, but again it also covers, most importantly, it covers the electronic communication. In our case, we are dealing with digital forensics, so electronic communication comes under the Right to Privacy Act. And then we have the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDPA. So it basically provides personal data to be safe, and it includes principles of lawful, fair and transparent processing, which includes digital forensic. And then yes, we have BSA, and there are certain sections. You can have a look at them, and more details will be in description.